back to another episode of the podcast, Magnet Ball Podcast. Here, I'm here with Jaden Sheffy and Makai Slaughter, and we're going over college football topics for Week 8 now. The season's going by quick, so we're gonna recap Week 7. We're gonna talk about Red River Showdown with Texas, a surprising win over number 6 Oklahoma. We'll talk about the upset at Austin Stadium with Indiana convincingly beating the Oregon Ducks 30 to 20, and then we'll also talk about Alabama winning on the road at Missouri, uh, top 15 ranked matchup, and Bama won in a close one, 27 to 24. We'll get into top 10 rankings that I'll be doing today, and then we'll talk about some Week 8 matchups. So we'll start with Red River. Oklahoma lost this game 6 to 23. It was pretty surprising in the fashion they lost.
Hmm.
But Kyla, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Um, I think all of us here were not expecting the result that we definitely saw here. Texas defense looked really good. Um, Looked like the second best defense in the country based off of what we all expect, especially after week one. That defense was just on Mateer all night long. They were struggling to block for him. Also, Mateer just never really got a rhythm throughout the game. Three costly turnovers. And they just couldn't run the football. Their highest rusher was ran for 33 yards on 11 carries. They ran for 48 yards total on 30 carries. Like that, you're not winning games that way. And the Longhorns figured out the rushing game. They were much better running the football. Wisner, 94 yards, 22 carries. Arch ran it a couple. So they controlled the line of scrimmage for the majority of this game, and that's really was the leading factor. Also, too, shout out Arch. If I'm gonna tear you down when you're bad, I'm gonna give you praise when you're good. He just played a solid game. Made some good throws. There was one throw in particular I remember they were like on their own end zone, and dude was like being grabbed on his left leg and just sidearms it. I think it was on the third down. It was terrific play. Like that's the Arch we all expect to see coming into this year. But very sound game, 21 to 27, 166, touchdown, no picks. Not really pushing the ball down the field, but didn't turn it over. He did enough to win. So shout out Arch, and he got a huge win to keep Texas playoff hopes alive. So
Yeah, this is always a classic game, no matter what the score is. But really good performance and response, I should say, from Texas, Sark staff, and Arch specifically. Um, this was a huge win. Oklahoma, I believe, was sixth in the country. Um, to go up against that defense after Arch kind of looked like he was seeing ghosts against Ohio State and Florida, to be frank. Um, what a huge turnaround. As Makai said, didn't really push the ball much downfield, only 166 yards in the air, but very efficient. Only missed six throws and had a touchdown. So managed the game well. One thing that really stood out to me was they were 10 for 17 on third down. Against a really good defense, like you'll take that all day. Obviously, yes, you want to be almost close to perfection as far as efficiency is concerned, but that's a good number to have against a very sound defense. And I just think, last but not least, Mateer just hasn't played in a while. I think maybe he got rushed back a bit because of that was their decision or his. But I get it. You want to play in a rivalry game, but he just didn't look in rhythm, and I think that affected things, especially having three turnovers. So that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma had 5 turnovers total because they had 2 fumbles lost as well. They needed to lean on the run game, especially with Material being back. I'm surprised he played. I thought Oklahoma's backup quarterback would be in this game. And yeah, you guys alluded to it. Mateer just coming back, like he looked somewhat healthy. Obviously, it's his throwing hand, but like mentally, he just looked out of sync. Um, quarterback is a very mental game, and just not playing for a while has his toll. And he's not a turnover type of quarterback, and he did that in this game. Um, I was also surprised about Texas, how they were able to run the ball after they haven't done that well the first few games. Makai talked about Wisner getting 94 on the ground, and then Arch was efficient, 21 for 27. I thought Oklahoma's defense was better than Florida's, and for this offense to come in and just flip a switch was really impressive to see. Obviously, getting those turnovers help, but yeah, you got to give credit to this team. I think they understand they have to win out just to have a chance to make the playoffs, which is going to be really tough to do with the rest of their schedule. But beating this team is definitely a start. I was surprised with all the turnovers how close this game was though. Still, if you watch the game, like it was still like 6-10 at one point with Mateer having two picks, and then Texas kind of ran away with it. But if you can't run the ball and then your quarterback's turning over the ball as well, like this is what's gonna happen. So hopefully Oklahoma can bounce back, and I don't think they drop too far in the rankings. So um, they're gonna have to figure it out. We will move on. We had Indiana upsetting Oregon. I think we all picked Oregon in this game. So, but hey, I'm gonna just say I'm happy with this result. Um, Ducks go down at home. They fall out of the top five, and Indiana gets a huge win for Kurt Sinetti. So, Makai, let's hear your thoughts.
Man, shout out Indiana. Oh my gosh, that was a terrific ball game to watch out of Indiana. That Indiana team, yeah, they're for real. This is not no Cinderella story. This is a really good team. To go out to Autzen, one of the more difficult places to play in the nation, and to go out and get a win like that, it's impressive. Um, Before anything, shout out to Indiana's defense. To hold that Oregon offense to 13 points is absurd. Like I still can't believe what I watched. Dante Moore's looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate throughout most of the season. I think we all can sit here and agree. And he looked very out of sorts. It looked like the crowd was affecting him more than Indiana. So that defense was hell. That defense was hell. And shout out to them. I think they had 6 sacks. They had 6 sacks. Yeah, shout out to Indiana's defense. Fernando Mendoza was really good. 20 of 31, 215, one touchdown, and a huge pick. I thought would cost them, but he bounced right back and goes down to score. Bing, 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 touchdown. So way to respond on that. And I don't think I can say too much about Elijah Surratt, man. Dude's one of the best receivers in the country. I mean, he's it. Like he's it. Um, if there wasn't a guy up in Columbus, I mean, he'd be fighting for that number one spot. Like he's that good. Elijah Surratt is that good. This Indiana team's for real. I don't know how much I can say that they ran the ball well, they threw it well, they play great defense. I look at their schedule, like I don't see them losing any other games. So this team probably has a free coast to win to get to the Big Ten title game and face Ohio State. So yeah, this team is for real. I can't say this team is for real. So
Yeah, I think this win showed that they're a top three team in college football. To go into Autzen and win by 10 and hold Oregon to under 300 yards of offense, total yards, is pretty remarkable. Um, I know we mentioned last week that they were getting their star and Pons back. They had him back for this game, but I want to shout out the linebacking core for this group. My goodness. Um, Fisher, 13 tackles by himself. This linebacking core can fly around, and the playmakers that Oregon has and the speed on their side of the football offensively, this was very impressive. Something to shout out really quick. I know Makai just alluded to it, but Dante Moore having 21 of 34, only one touchdown, two picks. Like that is incredible. So shout out to the team for the deep on the defensive side. Now on the offensive side, we already talked about Strat, that kick, that kicking ball. Uh, he's a player. Um, Offensively as well, they did fairly well rushing the ball. Only 19 carries for 70 yards, but two touchdowns. Those are big. And then what really stood out to me was actually believe it or not was the penalties. Oregon had 64 yards of penalties. You can't do that in big games, especially at home. And then time of possession as well. Indiana had the ball for about almost 7 minutes longer than they did. So just honestly a well coached game by Indiana and all around team effort. But this, like I said, huge win on the road. This is the top three team in college football right now.
Yeah, after they just destroyed Illinois, there were still questions like, did Illinois just stink it up, or is this Indiana team really that good? And they proved that on the road in one of the toughest places to play college football. Jaden said talked about the time of possession. That was huge. What I also noticed is first downs. Indiana had 23 to Oregon's 14. Um, Indiana had 8 penalties. Oregon had 7, but to go into that environment and get less than 10, like that's still pretty good. And then also the offensive line only gave up 1 sack against a really good front seven. So it just shows the coaching is really well done for Indiana, but also just in the trenches they played really well. Those linebackers can fly around. You usually see like Indiana teams like once they get to the Oregon's, Penn States, and Ohio States, like they're a step slower, but Oregon has all the speed you're going to see in the college football world, and these linebackers stepped up to the task, and they were flying around and making plays all game long. I got to give credit to Mendoza. He did have that one pick, but to go into a hostile environment and control the game the way he did is super impressive. And then you guys talked about that receiver, Surratt. He's a dude. He's fun. He's fun to watch, and he's going to be one of the best receivers in the Big Ten for the rest of the year. So great game and a huge win for Indiana. Like Makai said, I see this team going undefeated for the rest of the season with Penn State's falling out.
And before you move on, that Ohio State Indiana game, Big Ten championship, is going to be fireworks. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, this game pretty much sealed the deal for that. I can't see Ohio State losing with that defense. It's something to behold. We will move on. Alabama going to Missouri and being the number 14 Missouri Tigers, 27 to 24, in a close game. I feel like Alabama kind of controlled this game for the most part. Missouri kind of had a run in the fourth quarter, but Alabama squeaked by and got the win that they needed. So, Makai, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, this was a well played game by Alabama. After the first series, I'm sure Alabama fans were a bit concerned. They would watch how Missouri moved the ball down the field with ease, but Alabama didn't blink. Yeah, they stuck to their game plan and they just went out there and played very well at that. Ty Simpson, I mean, dude's in the Heisman conversation at this point. I mean, I don't think we can really debate that. 23 of 31, 200, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Dude was just bald, man. Ty Simpson's a dude. Jan Miller, 20 carries, 85 yards. They ran the ball okay, which is fine. But the big difference in this game was the 2 picks by Bo Prabula. They were just costly, especially the one on the final drive. Dude, he just missed him. Just missed him on that. But also too, shout out Alabama's defense holding Ahmad Hardy to 12 carries and 52 yards. I mean, that's one of the best backs in the nation who is on a crazy pace, and Alabama did a very good job in trying to contain him. Only 12 carries because Missouri was playing from behind most of the game. So shout out to Alabama for that. Team looks really good. Um, we'll see if they're the best team in the SEC. That still is out to question. I think they're better than Ole Miss after what we've seen this past week, but A&M looks really good right now. So, but shout out to Alabama, especially bouncing back from that week one. They just looked really good these last 5 weeks. So.
Yeah, we went into this game questioning Alabama's ability to stop the run. They proved us wrong, believe it or not. So they shut down their running back, but I also want to point out that Missouri, their QB had the most rushing yards for the team, and that just can't happen in games like this. So really hard to win that way. Not only when that is happening, but your quarterback throws 2 picks. It's really tough to win. The fact that they only squeezed us out by 3 points can sort of be encouraging. You know, if you clean up those turnovers and clean up a few things, especially penalty wise and on third down. You have a legitimate shot to win this game. 1 for 10 on third down, fellows, for Missouri. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. And they were behind the sticks quite a bit as well. So that's always tough. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, but in big games like this, you have to be efficient in all phases of the game. But one thing I'm going to point out as well with this game is specifically Simpson was balling out. As Makai said, this is definitely a Heisman candidate. But time of possession, my goodness, Alabama 38 minutes to Missouri 21 in time of possession. So they just controlled the game on the offensive side, dominated the clock. And again, to only win by 3 is encouraging, but wouldn't expect anything less out of Missouri, with all due respect, not being able to pull out a big game.
Yeah, I feel like um, Alabama controlled this game. I alluded to the time of possession. Those turnovers hurt, and yeah, it's kind of shocking they only won by 3 points. Obviously, I think Missouri had a late touchdown, but Alabama, their wide receiver Ron Williams had one target. I think he might have been injured for most of the game, and Ty Simpson, like without his best target, he still was able to move the ball and put points on the board. So you got to give this Alabama team credit for going on the road and getting this win without their best player. They're gonna have to play better to win out the rest of their schedule, and I think this Missouri team as well. They'll be all right. I think this was their first like big game. I don't think they played anyone really up until right now. Their best team they played other than this was South Carolina, and they
Yeah.
won that by 9. So this was their first test. And obviously at home you're hoping to win, but this Alabama team, what they've been doing in Vanderbilt, Georgia, like they've been on a roll, and I've been giving credit to Keelan DeBoer as well as Ryan Grubb. They just got this offense humming, and it's hard to stop. But as well, Jaden alluded to this defense stopping Missouri's run game, so that was impressive as well. We will jump into my top 10. I feel like Makai's talked about a few teams already that he believes are higher than some other teams, so we will see if my list kind of agrees with him. I'll start with some honorable mentions. I actually wanted to put this team in my top 10, but just because of their conference, I didn't do it. But I got Georgia Tech as an honorable mention. They're 6-0. They're playing really good football. And that quarterback is dangerous with his arm and his legs, and they're a well coached team. So I got Georgia Tech as an honorable mention, and then I also have Tennessee and Notre Dame as my other two honorable mentions. Notre Dame they lost two tough games, but since then they've been on a roll, and they've just been stomping teams. It hasn't been close. They just beat NC State, obviously not a great team, but they beat them 36-7. Top 10. All right. At 10, I have LSU. This team is 5-1 with only one loss. They just beat South Carolina, and they made Lenore Sellers not look that great. They sacked him 5 times. Um, and it's just another SEC matchup where you just got to win at home, and they were able to do that. So I got 5-1 LSU at number 10. At 9, I have Georgia. They're also 5-1. They have that one loss to Bama, but they just played on the road at Auburn, and I feel like a lot of people said this could be a game where they could get upset. Obviously, you know, a lot of people are talking about the refs handing them this game, which
They did.
give or take, but
They did.
a win's a win, and I'm gonna keep them at 9. At 8, I have the Oregon Ducks. They lost to a really good Indiana team, even though they were at home. They have still a really good win um, against Penn State. Obviously, with Penn State's falling out, that win doesn't look too great now, but I still believe that they have a really good head coach there, and Dante Moore will bounce back from this loss. At 7, we're going to go to the Big 12. I got Texas Tech at 7. This team just continues to win games. They're looking good. They just beat Kansas Right. They beat Kansas 42-17 at home, and they're just doing what they're supposed to. They beat Utah, who just smacked Arizona State, um, and they look like the Big 12 favorite. So this will be a team to be reckoned with moving forward. At six, I got Ole Miss. They're ranked fourth, and then I think they had Wazoo at home, and Wazoo was winning for most of this game. And I'm just thinking to myself, being a Huskies fan, UW beat this team by almost 30 points. They almost beat at Pullman. So the fact that Ole Miss was hanging with this team, obviously they got that big win the other week. You gotta move this team down a couple spots just for a lackluster performance against a not very good Wazoo Cougar team. At five, I got Alabama. Um, they got another big win, and this team just looks really good. Their schedule has not been easy the past few weeks. They've played ranked opponent after ranked opponent, from Georgia to Vanderbilt to this past week against Missouri, and you got to give this team props. Even though it was a close win on the road, three ranked opponents in a row is tough to handle, and they've done just that. So I got to give Ty Simpson and his crew credit. At four, I got Texas A&M. This team looks really good, especially this defense. Quarterback controls the game, and they're just really well coached. Florida bounced back last week against Texas, and they had a little bit of momentum going into this game. DJ Lagway didn't play too bad, but he wasn't that efficient, and A&M's defense was just able to hold them to 17 as their offense picked it up in the second half. So got to give the Aggies some credit, and they are a top four team, surprisingly. At three, I got Indiana. Um, what a huge win for this Hoosiers team. Kirsten Eddy's the real deal. Obviously, they didn't win against Notre Dame in the playoffs last year, but he's got this team dialed in this year again, and this team just went on the road and beat a really good Oregon team. So you got to give this team props, and that's why they're in my top three. At two, I got Miami. I haven't changed the top two from last week. These teams just continue to win. Carson Beck is legit, and it just shows like last year at Georgia, he was not the problem. Obviously, he got injured and like all that stuff happened, but those receivers at Georgia last year made him look a lot worse. It made his stats look a lot worse than they actually were. So this Miami team, offensively, they're rolling, and they will be a team to be reckoned with in the ACC. I don't gotta say much about this Ohio State team. They're at number one. They're gonna be at number one until they lose. This defense is better than the Cincinnati Bengals defense right now. Like watching this defense is scary. Like they got hitters everywhere. They got playmakers everywhere. That linebacking core is ridiculous. Like I don't got a lot to say about this team, but the offense, they're slowly giving their quarterback the reins and just adding more piece by piece each week. They're getting Jeremiah Smith more involved every week, and then they got Carnell Tate, and then that tight end. Obviously, I think he made a bigger impact in this game as well. So yeah, this team's going to be dangerous, and they're they're the favorite to win the Natty again. If they win back to back, that's going to be huge for this program. So yeah, that is my top 10. Let's hear your thoughts.
I'll start. I love this list. I have no issues with it across the board. Um, I honestly wouldn't make any changes. I think Ohio State being number one obviously makes sense. Miami makes sense. Indiana makes sense. Um, Ole Miss definitely makes sense. I mean, it just can't happen. Wazoo at home, you're fourth in the country, coming off a win against LSU. Yeah, they played LSU. Um, my gosh, it was neck and neck to the last, I don't know, 7 minutes, 6 minutes of the game. It just can't happen. Um, but yeah, everything else I agree with. Um, LSU being at the bottom. I don't know about your honorable mention just yet. Georgia Tech honorable mention, but they are a good team. I don't know if I'd creep them in that close. Um, Honestly, I would say my honorable mention team would either be it'd probably be it'd be Tennessee or Notre Dame. Um, I just need to see a little bit more out of Georgia Tech. Maybe a depleted Clemson team that can't say enough about them. How disappointing that their season's been, but we'll revisit that another time. But yeah, overall, love the list. No issues with it.
Oh yeah. I echo the same thing as Jaden. There was no complaints I have with the list. Thought it's perfect. I just don't like LSU at 10 because I don't think LSU is good. But who else you gonna put there? Um, yeah, it's not a bad list at all. The AP25 sucks. Why isn't Washington in there? Makes no sense. Um, that just needed to be said. They have Cincinnati and Nebraska at 24 and 25, and UC lost to Nebraska, and UC's higher. Makes zero sense, but yeah, they don't know what they're doing over there. Um, yeah, good list though. Good list.
I appreciate it, guys, and I'm just gonna second Makai's thought. Like, what is the AP poll doing? Like, Utah, I'm okay with, even though they got destroyed. USC should be in there. Texas at 21, like I get it, they beat Oklahoma, but their quarterback just got a surgery 4 weeks ago. Nebraska, like Nebraska lost to Michigan. Somehow Michigan's at 26, and then Cincinnati, like UW's at sitting at 27 after losing to the number one team in the country when it was a close game in the first half. Like obviously, like Ohio State had that game, but it was a close game in the first half.
They're the only team to
And they
compete with Ohio State outside of Texas, but for being real.
and let's be real, like
Yep.
that Texas game, like that was Ohio State's quarterback first start. Like he didn't look all that great against a really good defense. But like if they play Texas again right now,
Belt.
I digress. Though we will move on. We got a lot of good matchups this week. Shoot, this we talked about last week having good games. I think this week the same
It might
thing.
be better, I ain't
Like
gonna lie.
back on the
The
couch.
same message applies. You need
Yeah.
something, find someone else. You need prayer, find someone else. Don't bother me this weekend.
Don't
That's
do it.
on behalf of this group.
Don't do it. All right, we'll jump right in. We got number 10 LSU. We will find out if this team is real. They're playing at Vanderbilt, number 17 team in the country, and Vandy's actually favored in this game by 2.5 points. So this should be a really good matchup. I'll let Jaden start on this one.
Yeah, looking forward to this game. Another great slate of games this weekend in college football. This game is will be very good. I just don't think, I'll cut straight to it. I don't think LSU's winning. I like Vanderbilt at home in this game. I think LSU, um, they struggled in some of these big games, and they struggled to put together an efficient, full four-quarter offensive game. Um, I think their defense has had to do a lot more in these big situations, and I just like Vandy here. They played some really good football. They've ran the ball really well. Their quarterback doesn't have a lot of touchdowns through the air this season, um, but he's been efficient as well. I mean, 115 for 161 on the year. Those are pretty good numbers. He's also their leading rusher as well, 352 yards in the season on the ground. I like to see them run the ball a little bit better in this game, just because of that LSU front seven. But I like Vanderbilt here. I've got them winning at home, and I've got them winning this game 32, and LSU scoring 24.
Yeah, this Vanderbilt LSU game. Like I said it before, I'm not a big fan of LSU. They just got frauds written all over them. Offense is still kind of mid. Defense is humming. That defense is legit. That defense is real. Um, but yeah, I like Vanderbilt in this game as well. I think Vanderbilt's going to be able to put up points. Them being at home, they get the crowd behind them. It is a 12. I believe it's 12 o'clock kickoff. So that definitely does work in LSU's favor because you would not want that in the night. But yeah, I like Vanderbilt. I just think Vanderbilt they're playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, especially coming off a loss from Alabama, coming off a bye. They'll be a little rested. That's my only probably fear in terms of the offense being a little sluggish. But I think defensively they'll be fine. LSU, they're self check offensively at times. So I like Vanderbilt 31-21. I think they win by 2 possessions.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. LSU has a good defense, but what I've seen from Gary Nussmeier and the receiving core, the whole offense in totality, is just not what I expected from them this year. I think this will be a close game. I'm just gonna go ahead and take Vandy here. I got them winning this game 24-21. I think it will be a close game, but I think Vandy will pull out at home. We'll move on. Next game we got number 5, Ole Miss at number 9, Georgia. Georgia is favored 6.5 points at home. I think this kind of loses to Ole Miss's um, not great performance against Wazoo at home. I think Georgia came off a close win as well, but them being at home now is a whole different deal. So they are favored 6.5. Jalen, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, the spread's a little interesting. Um, I think this game will be a little bit more um, over 6.5. I've got Georgia pulling away with this one. I've got them winning at home. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I just don't like what I saw from Ole Miss against Washington State, the little brothers up east. So yeah, I don't know. I think this is a very tough environment to play in. Being at Georgia, Kirby Smart, he's going to have these boys ready to go for this game. I think it'll be a little bit more of a offensive game here. It'll be a close first half. I think Georgia will start to run away late in the game. I've got Georgia winning this game, though, nonetheless. I've got them putting up 34 points. And I've got Ole Miss only putting up 25.
Yeah, Ole Miss, Georgia. Yeah, them struggling against Washington State. I understand the cause to pause. I mean, this is the same Washington. They almost lost by 60 to North Texas, which is just that's nuts. That is nuts. Um, yeah, I understand people's cause to pause with Ole Miss, but I'm gonna be quite frankly, I think they'll be okay. I think it's just one of those games you just come in, you just weren't locked in. Just a lack of focus, and it happens when you come off a big one they had and a bye and off coming off a bye week too. They seem like they get a lot more of a rhythm, especially that fourth quarter. Um, you know what? I'm gonna take Ole Miss. I feel like everything's pointing in Georgia to win this game. But I think Lane Kiffin's going to get these guys ready. Heck, last year no one expected this team to beat Georgia, and they did it. Um, I think no one's expecting them to come out and beat Georgia again. I think Lane Kiffin's going to have them ready. I think Gunnar Stockton, because I'm gonna be honest, they shouldn't have beat Auburn last night. To be quite frankly, if anyone watched that first half, that should have been a touchdown. But I digress. Um, yeah, I like Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss comes out all cylinders firing, and I like Ole Miss 34-28.
Yeah, I think this is a game where you just throw defense out the window, and it's going to be a shootout. Um, Last year, Ole Miss had Jackson Dart, and we see what he's doing at the NFL level. I think that shows why Ole Miss was able to make this upset. This year, it's at Georgia. Athens is going to be jumping. It's a tough place to play. I can't see Georgia losing this game, and I think they're going to take the 6.5 and win more by that. I got Georgia winning this game 41-33 in the shootout. We'll move on. We got another ranked matchup. We got number 11 Tennessee going to Tuscaloosa facing the number six Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama's favorite 8.5 at home. 8.5. That well, they're only 5 spots apart, and that 8.5 is daunting. I'm surprised by that. So, Jane, let's hear your thoughts on that spread.
Yeah, that Tennessee Georgia game was a lot of fun about a month and a half ago. Um, but since then, I think this team's kind of taken a few steps back from a defensive standpoint. Um, they have very efficient offense. They play fast. They've got a lot of different looks that they throw at you from an offensive standpoint, but they just have struggled really putting a full efficient game together, in my opinion. I think Alabama's going to blow the door open here. Um, I kind of agree with the spread, but I've got Alabama winning fairly convincingly at home. I think the offense really gets off. I think Ryan Williams and the rest of the receiving core really have a solid day. But I got Alabama winning this one. Got them putting up 38, and I've only got Tennessee putting up 24.
Yeah, Alabama Tennessee, one of the more underrated rivalries in college football. If anybody's been down south, both these teams hate each other. Like they do not like each other at all, at all. Tennessee typically plays well against Alabama um, at home. Unfortunately, this game is not at home, so for that fact, I really do think Alabama's going to come out and be firing on all cylinders. Like Jaden said, Tennessee has seemed like they have taken a step back since that Georgia game. Like you said, defensively, just not the same intensity that we've seen earlier in the season. I think also too the offense can be a bit inconsistent at times, just a bit stagnant. But they're still really good offense. But yeah, I like Alabama in this matchup. It's at Bryant Denny. Alabama typically gets it done versus Tennessee, especially at home. Um, but yeah, I like Alabama. I think they put up a 40 burger. Um, yeah, I like it 45-34.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. You look at Alabama's game. So on at home, they just play a lot better football. Um, Obviously, their two games on the road were Georgia and Missouri, and they were both won by 3 points. But you look at those home wins; they're beating teams by double digits, and then their one loss was on the road at Florida State. Um, yeah, I think Ty Simpson. Like I was thinking about it. You saw how Georgia was able to move the ball on this Tennessee defense, and Gunnar Stockton was looking really good. Um, just imagine what Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Ty Simpson, this whole offense is going to be able to do with Ryan Grubb scheming it up. I think it's going to be a 40 burger as well, Makai. I totally agree with you on that. I got Alabama winning this game 44-27, and it won't be close. Next game we got is number 23 Utah back in the rankings at BYU, and I think Utah is favored in this game by 3, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Utes on the road. They are favored by 3 points at BYU, which is an undefeated team. Jane, let's hear your thoughts.
Uh, the the Battle of the Mormons. Um, this game should be a good one. Uh, I like BYU though in this game. Just to cut right to it, they've had a really good season so far. I really like their skills, players on the offensive side of the ball, and this team. They just seem to kind of peak towards the end of the year. They have at least for the last couple of years. Um, they were obviously good, very good last year, but I like BYU in this one. I think it will be a close game. It'll come down to the wire. Um, the only thing I'll say on the Utah side of things is Ampere just got to be efficient. I know it kind of sounds cliche, but you really can't turn the ball over in these type of games. We saw that against Texas Tech. But this is another big Big 12 matchup. It'll be a great game nonetheless. But I got BYU winning this one at home. I've got BYU winning this game 30-27 off the field goal.
Yeah, BYU, Utah. Shout out BYU. I don't know if anyone watched that game the other night. Them getting it done at Arizona. I mean, it just did not look like they were going to pull that one out, and they did it. And them being 6-0 and not really getting the respect they deserve. Um, Shout out BYU. Also, too, it's going to be an interesting game. Um, for me, I like Utah. I really do. I think this defense is really good. Besides the game against Texas Tech, which wasn't all the way their fault. They were just on the field for so long. Excuse me. But yeah, I really do like this Utah defense. They had Arizona State in absolute hell. Sam Levitt didn't play, but yeah, Jeff Sims, he just looked way, way, way out of his tax bracket. Um, but yeah, I like Utah. I really do like Utah in this game. I think Dampier was not going to make too many mistakes. I think Utah is going to play sound defense, and also too, they're going to be able to stop that QB run. You're not going to be able to run it too well in Utah's defense. That's just rare. It doesn't really happen. So I like Utah 23-17.
Yeah, you go back to that Utah Texas Tech game, man. I think it kind of shocked everyone how good Texas Tech really was, and I think it shocked Utah. I think they were at home and they were expecting, to be able to compete with Texas Tech no matter what. And those turnovers and how Texas Tech was just so explosive on offense, they just blew Utah out of the water. This team looks a lot more refocused, and they're playing a team within state, so I think they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to have a lot of fans that can travel to BYU and be in support. I, Shoot, this might not even be a home game. It might be more 50-50. Um, I got Utah winning this game. I think Dampier is going to be efficient. He's going to be able to run the ball, and this BYU team is just not going to be able to match up in the trenches. Um, they played against Arizona, and Arizona obviously they have a good quarterback, but other than that, like to go to double overtime against that team wasn't really impressive. In my eyes, I got Utah winning this game 27-17 with their defense playing really well against this BYU offense. Next game we got number 20 USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's next big test. They are favored by 8.5 against a USC team that just demolished Michigan. So, Jay, let's hear your thoughts on this one.
As we mentioned last week, the University of Spoiled Children, and they just seem to always have a good offensive unit, but defense is always lacking with this group. And I see that kind of playing to their downfall this weekend. I think Notre Dame wins pretty big. Um, I don't think this is going to be close. I think USC is a great team, very skilled on the offensive side, but I think Notre Dame just going to gash them up front on both sides of the ball. Um, Offensive, defensive line, definitely Notre Dame's favor. Defense can't stop a cold. We saw that in the Illinois game. So I think Notre Dame wins this game. I think they put up 40. I think they put up 42. And USC, I think they only put up 20. I think they only put up 25, 42, 25.
This game is very interesting. Um, at South Bend, very, very tough place to play, but we know this USC Notre Dame rivalry. Um, expect the unexpected. I will say that. Expect the unexpected. But I like Notre Dame as well. This Notre Dame team is just looking really good. My only caution with this team is this team does have a problem of getting off to slow starts. I think that's a bit of my concern in the last two games. Like, if you see the score, you're like, oh, yeah, they won convincingly. But if you look at the first half, they're just sluggish, like, just really sluggish. And I think that could be problematic if they go into this USC game sluggish. You can blink and you're down 14-0. So they got to have a sense of urgency early on. I think that's a bit of my fear, but I think even if they go out a little slow, which I think is probably what's going to happen, I think they bounce back. I still like Notre Dame in this game. I think it'll be a little bit closer than what Jaden will think because of the slow start, but I really do see fireworks here. I like Notre Dame 42-35.
Yeah, I'm kind of like floating in between y'all's decisions on this one. I think it comes down to one thing for Notre Dame's offense. Are they going to go tempo or not? They go tempo and they're speeding up the clock, and Jeremiah Love is getting the rock, and they're not letting USC's defense to get set. They could put up big points on this team, get their offense off the field, and let their defense do work on this USC um, offense. Um, I don't think CJ Carr has been a problem for this team. You look at their losses; they were able to put up points, albeit as sometimes they're a bit sluggish. Um, you look at their losses; their defense is letting up a ton of points. So they got to be ready to play against this USC offense that went and beat Michigan pretty handily. I'm gonna take Notre Dame, but I don't think it's gonna be. They'll win convincingly, but it won't be a blowout in my opinion. I think Jeremiah Love, this is his coming out party. I think the, their other running back, I think is Pierce or Price. I think it's Price. He's gonna do well against this USC defense, and like Jaden alluded to, they're just gonna get gashed. Their front seven for USC. So I got Notre Dame winning this game. I got them winning 38 to 20, 21, 38-21. All right, last game to talk about for the night. We got the Washington Huskies, 5-1, going to Ann Arbor and playing the Michigan Wolverines. The over did start at 6.5. Now it's down to 5.5 in Michigan's favor. So, Jaden, let's hear your thoughts.
There's a reason I wore the purple today for the show. I'm looking forward to this game. UW has played Michigan now, I think, the past 2 or 3 years. Um, it's been interesting to see Michigan. I think they started out as a really strong team, and they've kind of plummeted a little bit the last couple weeks. Um, Still a very young quarterback, very talented roster all around. This is another big game that I think initially is in Michigan's favor. But I want to focus really quick. I know Dylan will definitely touch on this, but Devon is balling, fellas. My goodness. Uh, 10 touchdowns, 117 for 158 on the year, one interception, no fumbles. Put up 500 all purpose yards, almost, against Rutgers. Yes, it's Rutgers, but doing that against any team in this conference is no joke. Um, so I'm expecting a very efficient game from him. I think this has to be his coming out party if he wants to get on notice. He played very efficient against Ohio State, but this is the game for him. So they're going to go as far as he goes. I got UW winning this one. I think it will be a close game. My only fear is for UW is Jedfish. Um, I need you to coach a good game, brother. I need you to coach an efficient game. We cannot have slow starts, and let's not do any more fake field goals. This is a very tough environment to play in. I think it will be close all the way to the end, but I see Washington pulling out with a win in the fourth quarter, and they're going to win this game 30, or excuse me, 33-30.
Man, this game is going to be great. I mean, big new kickoff, 12 p.m. at Ann Arbor. Like Jaden said, Damon Williams is just balling, man. I mean, he's a top 5 QB in CFB. No one's talking about him, which is just a crime. Jonah Coleman's one of the best backs in the country. This Washington team looks offensively is really good. Um, but man, playing in Ann Arbor is tough. It's very tough. Playing against that coaching staff is tough. Um, I really do want to take Washington, but I just can't. I don't know what's keeping me from it. I just can't. I think Sharon Moore is going to have those guys ready. They're coming off a very tough loss. You know, Michigan is eager to get back on that field. Um, the defense is they're pissed off. They just let USC put 31 on them. They're going to play with a sense of pride. And Ann Arbor is just a tough place to play, man. And also, too, like Jaden alluded to, Jedfish. I'm still not all the way sold on him out at Washington, but um, yeah, I like Michigan in this game. And Washington does seem to have some problems on the road, like at Maryland. That's just you can't be down 20-0 against Maryland. Like that's just unacceptable. Um, and with that being said, I like Michigan. I think Michigan gets it done. I think it's a really close one, but I like Michigan 27-23.
Yeah, this game's gonna be really close. I don't like what I saw at Maryland. I'm not gonna lie. Like Makai said, being down um, 20-0 at one point to that team. I mean, they were undefeated and they were playing well, but still, I do like the resolve that they came back and won that game. And playing this Rutgers team this past week was really encouraging. Damon Williams, 38 all-purpose yards in a game, four tuds. He had one fumble, but like the the stats are just crazy. 21 for 27, 13 rushes for 136, averaging 10 yards. Like you see him taking off from the pocket, and he's just faster than everyone else. Albeit he couldn't do it against Ohio State because everyone on Ohio State defense runs a 4-3. But I think them playing Ohio State has prepared them for the rest of their season. They're not going to see a defense that good for the rest of the season, and I don't think this Michigan defense is even close. Watching them let USC put 31 on them. If USC put 31 on them, I know UW can do the same. Jonah Coleman is leading the nation in touchdowns, and then Damon Williams, like Makai said, he's a top 5 QB right now. And then they have a projected first round pick in Denzel Boston at wide receiver. So I think this offense is going to be able to move the ball. I do like what Jed Fish has been doing play calling wise. Obviously, he makes some boneheaded mistakes at points, but I'm hoping from the Ohio State game and then the Maryland game, this team has learned their lesson, and those slow starts will stop. I got this game being close. I think Michigan will be ahead at a half, but I think UW being a second half team and Damon Williams being the nasty quarterback that he is with just his legs and his arm, he's just lethal. Um, I did before I give my score. I also did check the weather for this game. It will be sunny. It won't be rainy. So I think that leans in UW's favor. I think it might be 70 degrees in Ann Arbor, which is surprising for this time of year. I think they will be able to throw the ball all over this Michigan defense, and it's not going to be pretty. I got Washington winning this game 31-27. Any last thoughts before we sign off for the night, boys?
Shout out Penn State. Thank you for firing your coach. Um, yeah, it's a mess over there. Prayers up for Penn State fans, man.
I just want to say we saw
Yep.
this coming from day one.
Yeah, he's a fraud. Freaking fraud.
Never like to see a quarterback lose their season. Um, no matter how much they're good or bad, it's never fun to see Aller go down for the year. Um, but yeah, this firing was long overdue.
Yeah, the one thing I'm gonna say about Aller is you let that ego overtake you, the Lord's gonna correct it real quick. So obviously you don't wish a player to get injured and lose his senior season, but his play from sophomore, junior to senior year has just been a slow downfall, regardless of the injury. But yeah, with Penn State out of the mix, I think after Ohio State, the Big Ten is wide open, so it's gonna be fun to watch the rest of the season play out for sure. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this video up. This is Magnet Ball Podcast signing up. Please like and subscribe to the video and the podcast. We appreciate you for being here.